What if a dream solo flight turned into a nightmare for a young boy? For Justin, what was meant to be a thrilling adventure quickly transformed into an ordeal that no one could have predicted. A single cruel act that ignited a series of events, unraveling hidden secrets and leading to an unexpected, powerful twist. Welcome to StoriesX. If you enjoy our content, please hit that subscribe button and share where you're watching from in the comments below. Now, let's dive into the extraordinary journey of a boy named Justin. Justin was a bright, cheerful 10-year-old boy with a big smile and sparkling eyes that showed his excitement. Today was a special day for him. He was about to board his first ever solo flight to visit his grandparents. He couldn't stop bouncing on his feet as he stood in the busy airport terminal with his mom. Justin had dressed carefully for the occasion. He wore a neat white polo shirt with tiny blue airplane patterns on it, a gift from his grandpa who loved flying. It was tucked into his dark blue jeans, which were clean and ironed. He had picked his favorite sneakers, bright red with white stripes, which made him feel like he could run fast if he needed to. Around his neck, he wore a small silver necklace with a pendant shaped like a plane. It was something his mom had given him for good luck. Over his shoulder, he carried a small black backpack with green zippers. Inside were snacks, a bottle of water, his toy airplane, and a book about the coolest planes in the world. "Remember, be polite and listen to the flight attendant," his mom said, kneeling down to adjust his collar and smiling warmly. "And don't forget, if you need anything, just ask. They're there to help." "Yes, Mom, I know. I'll be fine," Justin said, trying to sound brave. But deep down, he felt a mix of excitement and a bit of nervousness. He couldn't wait to get on the plane, look out the window, and watch the world below grow smaller as they soared into the sky. The airport was crowded, and people were rushing past them, pulling their luggage and talking on their phones, but Justin felt special. This wasn't just any flight. It was his adventure. After a final hug from his mom, he waved and confidently walked toward the gate, following the signs that led to his plane. He felt like a real traveler, just like the people he saw on TV. As he got closer to the gate, he saw Margaret, the air hostess, standing at the entrance. She was greeting the passengers with a smile, directing them to their seats. She was dressed in a crisp navy blue uniform, with her hair tied up neatly, and her smile looked polite. But when her eyes landed on Justin, her expression changed. The friendly smile faded, replaced by a tight, disapproving look. "Where's your guardian?" she asked sharply, glancing around as if expecting to see someone rushing up behind him. "Oh, I'm flying by myself," Justin said, still smiling, trying to be as polite as his mom had reminded him to be. "I have my ticket right here." He showed her the ticket that had been hanging from a lanyard around his neck. Margaret's eyes narrowed as she took the ticket without a word. She seemed to check it over and over, as if she was looking for a reason to say no. Then she glanced at Justin again, her eyes moving over his neat clothes, his backpack, and his bright red sneakers. "All right, fine, but don't cause any trouble," she said, her voice flat and cold. Justin's smile wavered. It wasn't what he expected. Everyone else seemed to be getting warm welcomes, and he didn't understand why she was being so harsh. He decided to let it go, thinking maybe she was just having a tough day. He didn't want to make things worse. Once on the plane, Justin found his seat by the window, just as he had hoped. He carefully placed his backpack under the seat and pulled out his toy airplane, planning to play with it a bit before takeoff. But before he could even get comfortable, Margaret appeared again. She stood over him, her arms crossed, staring down at him with that same cold expression. "What are you doing?" she asked sharply. "I'm just playing with my toy," Justin said quietly, confused. "Well, put it away and sit properly," she snapped, her voice loud enough for other nearby passengers to hear. Justin felt his cheeks turn red as he quickly put the toy back in his bag and adjusted his seat. Some of the other passengers looked over, their faces showing surprise at how Margaret was talking to him. Throughout the boarding process, Justin noticed Margaret smiling warmly at other passengers, helping them find their seats, and even cracking a joke with one man about his oversized hat. But when she passed by Justin's row, her face seemed to freeze, as if she was trying hard not to look at him. Justin wanted to ask why she was acting this way, but he didn't dare. He just wanted to enjoy the flight and get to his grandparents. However, as the plane started to move, he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Why was she treating him like this? And what did he do wrong? The plane was getting ready to take off, but little did Justin know. This was only the beginning. Something unexpected was about to happen, and it would change everything. Justin sat in a crowded airport feeling small and defeated. Tears welled up in his eyes as he clutched his backpack tightly, trying to hold back the sobs that were building up inside him. His mom had come rushing back after receiving a frantic phone call from the airport staff. She knelt beside him, gently wiping the tears from his cheeks, her own face a mixture of anger and concern. "Justin, what happened?" she asked softly, her voice trembling as she hugged him close. "Why are you here? I thought you were on the plane by now." Justin's lips quivered as he tried to explain. The air hostess. She made me get off the plane," he stammered, his voice barely a whisper. "She said I was causing trouble, but I didn't do anything, Mom, I swear." His mom's eyes widened in shock and then narrowed with anger. "What?" she said, her voice growing louder. "Why would she say that? You are always so polite." She hugged Justin tighter, feeling his little body shake with sadness. "Don't worry, sweetheart. We're going to sort this out." As they sat together, other passengers who had been on the flight passed by, whispering to each other. Some of them had seen how Margaret treated Justin, and they looked at him with pity, but no one had spoken up at the time. One elderly lady even stopped and patted Justin's shoulder, saying, "You were very brave, young man," before continuing on her way. But Justin didn't feel brave. He felt confused and hurt. Meanwhile, inside the plane, Margaret was smiling as if nothing had happened. She moved up and down the aisle, offering drinks and snacks, laughing and joking with the passengers, almost as if she had forgotten about the boys she had forced off the plane. Yet every now and then, a flash of something crossed her eyes, a secret satisfaction. She was calm on the outside, but inside she was hiding something. She thought she had gotten away with it, but she didn't know that things were about to change. Back in the airport terminal, Justin's mom was furious. She marched straight to the airline counter, dragging Justin along by the hand. The staff at the counter could see how upset she was, and they immediately tried to calm her down. "I need to speak to someone in charge," she said, her voice firm. "I want to know why my son was kicked off that plane, and I'm not leaving until I get answers." The lady at the counter nodded sympathetically. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Let me get a supervisor for you. Please have a seat and we'll sort this out." Justin's mom did her best to stay calm, though inside she was boiling with anger. She had seen how excited Justin had been about the flight, how carefully he had packed his backpack, and how he had talked about meeting the pilot. Now that joy had been taken away from him, and it broke her heart. While they waited, Justin's mom knelt beside him again. "Listen to me, Justin," she said softly, holding his face in her hands. "You didn't do anything wrong, okay? Sometimes people act mean, and it has nothing to do with you. We're going to fix this. I promise." Justin nodded, but he still felt a knot in his stomach. "But why, Mom?" he asked, his voice cracking. "Why was she so mean to me?" His mom sighed, struggling to find the right words. "I don't know, baby, but we'll find out." Finally, a man in a suit appeared, the airline supervisor. He introduced himself as Mr. Harris and listened carefully as Justin's mom explained everything. She told him how excited Justin had been, how Margaret had treated him, and how he was forced off the plane without a proper reason. Mr. Harris frowned as he listened and promised to look into the situation immediately. "We take this very seriously," he said, glancing down at Justin, who was still clinging to his backpack. "I'm so sorry this happened. Let me investigate, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible." After a few minutes, Mr. Harris returned with a serious expression. "I've spoken with the crew, and we're reviewing the footage from the flight. I promise we'll get to the bottom of this. For now, We'd like to offer Justin a new ticket for the next flight free of charge. We'll make sure he gets to his grandparents safely." But Justin's mom wasn't satisfied. "What about the air hostess? Will she just get away with this?" she demanded, her eyes fierce. Mr. Harris hesitated. "We need to conduct a full review before we take any action, but I assure you, this will not be ignored." As Justin and his mom left the counter, a glimmer of hope began to grow inside her. She knew there was more to this story, and she wasn't going to stop until she uncovered the truth. That night, after they got home, she made phone calls, spoke to the airline's customer service, and even posted online about what had happened. She wasn't going to let Margaret's behavior go unnoticed. Little did Margaret know, the actions she thought she had covered up were starting to unravel. The next day would be a new opportunity for Justin, and also the beginning of something Margaret never saw coming. The next day, Justin woke up feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement. He was going to try again, this time with a new ticket that Mr. Harris had arranged. But Justin's mom had been busy all night and had a plan. She could see how upset her son had been, and she wasn't going to let Margaret get away with what she did. As they drove to the airport, she kept telling Justin to stay calm and brave, just like he was the day before. When they arrived at the airport, things felt different. As they approached the airline counter, a friendly staff member greeted them warmly. "Good morning, Justin. We've been expecting you. Please follow me," she said, smiling. Justin and his mom exchanged curious glances, but followed her anyway. The staff member led them to a special room near the gate. Inside, screens showed different parts of the airport, like a control center. Justin's mom had never been in a room like this before. Seated inside were Mr. Harris and a few other serious-looking people. They all stood up as Justin and his mom entered. "Good to see you again, Justin," Mr. Harris said. "We want you to have a great flight today. But before you board, there's something we need to tell you both." He looked at Justin's mom, who nodded, already guessing what was coming next. Mr. Harris explained that after hearing about what happened, the airline had reviewed the footage from the previous day. They saw how Margaret had treated Justin, and it was clear she was being unfair. "What she did was wrong, and we deeply apologize for it. We are taking this very seriously," Mr. Harris said. "We've made sure she won't be working on any flights today." Justin's eyes widened. "So, she's gone?" he asked, feeling a little relieved, though still a bit scared. Mr. Harris nodded. "She won't be bothering you again, but there's more. We want to make sure everyone knows what happened yesterday and why it was wrong." Justin's mom squeezed his hand gently. "It's up to you, sweetie. You don't have to share your story if you don't want to," she said. Justin thought for a moment. He remembered how sad and embarrassed he felt when Margaret made him get off the plane. "Okay," he said softly. "I'll do it." A few minutes later, Justin was sitting in a comfortable seat on the plane. It felt good to be back, but his heart was still beating fast as the plane began to fill up with passengers. Justin noticed people glancing at him and whispering. He wasn't sure why until he heard a voice on the intercom. "Good morning, everyone," said Mr. Harris. "Before we take off, we want to address something very important. Yesterday, one of our passengers, Justin, was treated unfairly by a member of our staff. We have taken steps to ensure this doesn't happen again, and we want to thank Justin for being brave and coming back to fly with us today." Justin could feel all eyes on him, but this time it didn't feel bad. Some of the passengers nodded, and a few even smiled at him, as if they were silently cheering him on. But there was still one more surprise left, one that would make this flight unforgettable. Suddenly, the captain appeared from the cockpit and walked down the aisle toward Justin. "Hello, Justin," he said, kneeling down so he was at eye level. "I heard what happened to you, and I'm proud of how brave you've been. We have a little surprise for you. Would you like to come up to the cockpit with me before we take off?" Justin's eyes lit up. "Really? I can see where you fly the plane?" he asked, hardly able to believe it. "Absolutely," the captain said with a smile. "And maybe, if you're interested, you can even help me announce the takeoff." As Justin followed the captain to the front of the plane, The passengers clapped. Justin's heart felt lighter than it had in a long time. Inside the cockpit, he saw all the buttons, levers, and screens he had only read about in his books. It was like stepping into a dream. The captain explained how everything worked and even let Justin press a button that turned on the seatbelt sign. When it was time to take off, the captain handed Justin the intercom microphone. "Go ahead," he said gently. "Say whatever you want." Justin took a deep breath. "Hi, everyone," he said, his voice a little shaky but growing stronger. "I'm Justin, and I just want to say thank you for letting me fly with you today. I'm really excited, and I hope we all have a great trip." The plane erupted in applause, and Justin felt like he was on top of the world. Back in the cabin, Justin's mom wiped away a tear. She knew this was just the beginning. Margaret might have thought she could treat Justin poorly without consequences, but now everyone knew the truth. Little did Margaret know, this was only the start of the chain of events that would change everything. Later, as the plane soared through the sky, Justin was still beaming from his time in the cockpit. It felt like a dream to be up there with the captain, pressing buttons, and even speaking to all the passengers. But while he enjoyed the flight, something was happening behind the scenes. Something Margaret never saw coming. Back on the ground, the airline's investigation was unfolding quickly. Mr. Harris, along with a team of senior staff, had been going through complaints and reports. What they found was shocking. Margaret had a history of treating certain passengers unfairly, especially children flying alone. Some of the complaints had been brushed off in the past, but after Justin's case, the airline was determined to uncover the truth. The footage from the airport and the plane the previous day revealed everything. It showed how Margaret had been polite and friendly to all the other passengers, but was unnecessarily harsh and rude to Justin when she made him get off the plane. It was clear he hadn't done anything wrong. Mr. Harris couldn't understand why Margaret had treated him this way, but he knew it was unacceptable. While Justin's flight was still in the air, the airline's headquarters decided to act. They sent out a public statement acknowledging what happened to Justin, apologizing for Margaret's actions, and promising to make things right. The statement spread quickly online, and soon people everywhere were talking about it. Other passengers who had experienced similar things began to speak up, sharing their stories. It was as if a door had been opened, and the truth was pouring out. Meanwhile, up in the sky, Justin was feeling happier than he had in a long time. As the plane prepared to land, the captain handed him the microphone again. "We're almost at your destination, Justin. Would you like to say something to everyone?" The captain asked with a kind smile. Justin's heart pounded, but he felt braver now. "Hi, everyone. I just want to say thank you for listening to my story and for being so kind. I was really scared yesterday, but now I'm excited to see my grandparents. I hope everyone has a great day," he said. The passengers cheered, and one person even shouted, "You're a hero, Justin." He grinned, feeling a warmth inside him that he hadn't felt since the ordeal began. As the plane touched down and came to a stop, the passengers began to gather their belongings, ready to leave. But before anyone could stand up, Mr. Harris's voice came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for flying with us today. Before you disembark, we have a special announcement. We'd like to invite Justin and his mom to the front of the plane." Justin and his mom exchanged surprised looks. As they walked to the front, everyone clapped. Justin felt a little shy but proud. Waiting for them at the front were Mr. Harris, the captain, and a few other crew members. "Justin, we want to thank you for being so brave," Mr. Harris began. "What happened to you should never have happened, and because of you, we're making changes to ensure it never happens again to anyone else. You helped us see something that we needed to fix, and we're grateful to you." Mr. Harris handed Justin a certificate. "This is an official certificate naming you as an honorary co-pilot for the day, for your courage, and for standing up when things weren't right. We also invite you and your family to visit our pilot training center anytime you want, so you can learn more about flying. Maybe one day you'll become a pilot yourself." Justin's eyes lit up. "Really? I can learn to fly?" he asked, hardly believing it. "That's right. The captain said with a smile. "And if you keep being as brave and kind as you were today, there's no limit to what you can do." The passengers erupted into applause again, and Justin's mom hugged him tightly. She was so proud of her son and believed that the airline was taking steps to make things right. It felt like a victory, not just for Justin, but for everyone who had been treated unfairly and hadn't had a chance to speak up. But things weren't over for Margaret. As Justin and the passengers celebrated, Margaret was called into the airline office. She didn't yet know what was coming, but she could sense that something was wrong. Mr. Harris and other senior members of the airline were waiting for her. "There's serious trouble, Margaret. We need to talk about your conduct," Mr. Harris said, showing her the footage of how she had treated Justin. "This isn't the first complaint we've received, but it's the first time we have clear evidence of your behavior. You treated that boy unfairly, and there's no excuse for that." Margaret's face turned pale. I didn't mean to," she started, but Mr. Harris cut her off. "We've decided to suspend you while we conduct a full investigation," he said firmly. "We don't tolerate this kind of behavior, and if we find any more evidence, there will be consequences." As Margaret left the office, she realized she was no longer in control. The actions she thought she could hide had finally caught up with her, and the truth was out. She had been wrong to think she could treat people however she wanted without facing any consequences. The next day, newspapers and websites buzzed with Justin's story. People admired his courage, and the airline's quick response was widely praised. Justin's mom received countless messages of support, and other families shared how relieved they were that someone had spoken up. At his grandparents' house that evening, Justin excitedly told them all about his adventure. They listened with wide eyes as he described the cockpit, the cheering passengers, and how the captain had let him speak. "You were so brave, Justin," his grandma said, hugging him tight. Sitting on his grandparents' porch that evening, Justin felt happy and free. He had faced something really scary, but he didn't let it keep him down. As he watched the sunset, he felt like he could do anything. Maybe one day, he really would become a pilot and fly planes where everyone was treated with kindness and respect. After that unforgettable day, Justin's life began to change in ways he never imagined. The warmth of that sunset on his grandparents' porch had not only filled him with hope, but had sparked a determination to follow his dreams even more fiercely. In the weeks that followed, the story of his courageous stand spread far beyond his small hometown. His experience was featured on local news, shared widely on social media, and even discussed during school assemblies. Teachers and classmates alike began to see Justin not only as a quiet, cheerful boy, but also as someone who had demonstrated tremendous resilience in the face of injustice. At school, Justin's newfound reputation inspired his peers to speak up when they experienced unfair treatment. Mr. Chun, his favorite science teacher, often commended him in class, not only for his academic excellence, but for his courage to stand by his convictions. "Justin, your story reminds us all that every voice matters," Mr. Chun said during one class discussion on ethics. These words resonated with his classmates, who started opening up about their own challenges. Over time, a supportive group of friends formed around Justin, and together they began to advocate for a kinder, more inclusive school culture. Outside the classroom, Justin found that his life was slowly realigning in his favor. His parents noticed a change in his demeanor, an inner strength that had blossomed from his ordeal. His mother would often say, "I'm so proud of you, Justin. You've turned something painful into a beacon of hope for others." Even his father, always a pillar of strength, remarked that his son had grown wiser and more confident. Although Justin was still only 10, his quiet maturity set him apart in a way that made him a role model among his peers. Inspired by the encouragement he received, Justin began to dream even bigger. The certificate he received from the airline, naming him an honorary co-pilot for the day, became a treasured keepsake, a symbol of his triumph over adversity. Every time he looked at it, he remembered the cockpit moment, the supportive applause from strangers, and the realization that he could shape his own destiny. His dream of becoming a pilot, once a fanciful notion, now took on a more tangible meaning. He started reading more about aviation, visiting the local library for books on planes and flight, and even enrolling in a junior aviation club offered by his school. At the same time, the airline's sweeping changes began to have a noticeable impact. Mr. Harris and the executive team introduced comprehensive diversity and sensitivity training programs for all staff. New policies ensured that every passenger, regardless of age, race, or background, would be treated with respect and dignity. The airline's public statement and swift corrective actions garnered praise from both passengers and industry experts. News articles lauded the company's commitment to fairness, and hashtags like #RespectInTheSkies began trending online. Justin's experience, once a moment of personal humiliation, had inadvertently become the catalyst for positive change in an entire organization. One afternoon, during a school career day event, Justin was invited to speak about his journey. Standing in front of an audience of younger students, he recalled the fear, the humiliation, and the eventual triumph of that fateful flight. "I learned that even when things seem unfair, you have the power to stand up and make a difference," he said, his voice steady despite his nerves. His words struck a chord with the students, many of whom later approached him to share their own stories of overcoming challenges. Justin realized that his experience was not just about him. It was about inspiring others to believe in their own strength. That evening, as Justin sat on his grandparents' porch once again, he watched the sky transform into a tapestry of twilight colors. The day had been long, filled with moments of reflection and quiet joy. His grandparents, who had supported him unconditionally, sat beside him, their faces glowing with pride. "You did well, Justin," his grandmother whispered, squeezing his hand gently. "Remember, every challenge you overcome brings you closer to your dreams." In that moment, Justin felt not only a deep sense of gratitude, but also a burning desire to keep moving forward. Though the memory of Margaret's harsh treatment still lingered, it had become a distant echo compared to the overwhelming support and the changes that had followed. Justin knew that the journey ahead would have its challenges, but he also understood that every obstacle was an opportunity to grow. With dreams of flying high and a heart full of hope, he looked toward the future with determination and resilience. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed the story as much as we love sharing it with you. Your support means the world to us and fuels our passion to bring you more heartwarming tales of courage, kindness, and resilience. Every like, comment, and share inspires us to uncover more incredible journeys that celebrate the strength of the human spirit. Please let us know where you're watching from in the comments, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss our next story. We truly appreciate your support and look forward to sharing another inspiring adventure with you soon. Stay inspired and see you in the next story.